Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. Really happy to have you here. I am reviewing two candles this morning, one of which I just reviewed, which was Herbs and Spice. I keep calling it Herbs and Spices. It's actually Herbs and Spice from Kringle Candle. And I have this very last one here of the ones that I purchased from this latest Kringle Reserve collection, and that is Crimson and Clover right here. So we've got Crimson and Clover last. Crimson and Clover, of the ones that came out, is the only one that I was wild about, that I absolutely knew that I had to purchase. It turns out that I ended up purchasing three other ones. One of them was Herbs and Spice, and then I also picked up Turquoise, and I also picked up Blue Orchid. And I've reviewed both of those like last week. I think Turquoise is a really good candle. It's probably not entirely in my wheelhouse, but I think it's a strong candle. It's decent at least. Blue Orchid was not good for me, but I will say about the two of them, I could tell within one burn or two burns exactly what kind of candle they were. There's something straightforward and bold and unembarrassed about both candles. There's a confidence in these two. You know exactly what it is that you're getting every time that you light it, every time that you smell it, and it may not be your cup of tea. Blue Orchid is not, for instance, but I respect the fact that it is a point of view and it makes sense. Unfortunately, Crimson and Clover and Herbs and Spice are much more ambivalent candles. It's like they're not quite sure what it is that they are, and they're gonna give you like a 3 on a scale of 10 rather than much larger than that. I especially found with Crimson and Clover that I would burn it, and some days I'd be like, so I'm just getting all green elements today. Yeah. And then the next day it would be like, I'm getting about 40% today, and I'm getting something sweet that's more like a date than a fig. Just a lot of sugar that's like berry reminiscent. I just sometimes didn't even know what it was that I was gonna get. And for some people that'll be exciting. For me personally, I would prefer a more consistent experience and a more reliable one, and definitely one that has a little bit more volume. So let's talk about it. Crimson and Clover, I'm just gonna go, by the way, Crimson and Clover for whatever reasons has been pulled off of the website. And I don't know what that means, but it's not even there anymore. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that they do a repour of it, because it's the one that I, at least initially, wanted to repurchase. And I think that it sold out in enough, you know, pretty quickly, which would indicate to the company that people liked it or thought they were gonna like it. Okay, so anyway, close parentheses. So Crimson and Clover, the notes that they give top green clover, mission fig, and crimson berries. I will let you know that those top notes, I don't know about the crimson berries, but definitely the clover and the fig come across pretty strongly. And that's what you're gonna experience when it is that you burn it. So the top notes are present. The rest of it, I'm not sure that it is. Okay, so the mid notes, rose water, gardenia, and sugarcane. Maybe the sugarcane comes across. Base notes, amber, velvet musk, and woody. And man, when I looked at these notes, I thought to myself, this is my candle. I just love amber and musk and wood done. Where do I sign? I love, with a capital L, love figs. I think I have like probably like 25 fig candles, all from different companies. I can't help it. It's like kryptonite to me. So, and then I love botanical elements. So the green clover, yes. And even the gardenia and the rose water kind of intrigued me, because I just thought, this is gonna be dewy, this is gonna be kind of floral, this is gonna be botanical, and then it's also got those darker elements, right? So upon smelling it, I like it. And it is blended very, very nicely. And I'm not saying that especially there is some musk and some wood. I don't know about amber, but musk and wood is definitely there. And it's softened and it's mixed perfectly with the fig and with the like green clover element, which is really just kind of, I think, a green vine. Kringle does vines really well. So it's mainly vine fig with a little bit of like deeper and duskier elements that kind of ground it and give it a little bit of a backbone. In the jar, it's giving me about a 4 or a 5, and I wish it was giving me an 8 or a 9. And I was worried. I thought that might be indicative of some burn issues, and in fact it was. I have burned this one down over halfway. Every time I burn it, I'm like, today will be the day that it reveals itself in all of its grandeur and glory, and I have a sense of what it is that it is. I don't know that that's the case. And for reference, I brought along some other fig candles. So Kringle very recently had this country candle that was Mediterranean fig, looked like this. I picked up a daylight in it. I never actually got the candle, and now it's been discontinued. But it was around for a while, and I think for many of you, it will be in your recent memory. I have to be honest, I kind of prefer this one, and I have burned it a bit. It comes across similarly once it's burned, in that it's kind of like a nice green fig scent. For me, this one is a little bit jammier, a little bit more true fig, and it's brighter and more bold. Now, I cannot speak to how it performs or how it comes across in a larger vessel, but this one is less sweet. If I smelled them both, I'd probably buy them both because I'm just like a fig person, but I would be more confident in Mediterranean fig than in this one. This one is very shy in the jar, kind of austere. I don't know. I also have here a Nest Mediterranean fig. This one is a little sweeter than both of them. It's fresh. It's a very fresh smell, and it's mixed with a few other things, kind of an aqua element there, which is exactly what it is that they're going for. And then this is, I think, the winner. This is Fig Tree from Anthropology. It's one of their best sellers. And for me, this is everything that is lacking in both fig candles from Kringle. There's a spicy element, but there's like, so it's kind of like a zestiness. It's got the green element, and it's got a very strong fig element. And it's a bestseller for Anthropology for a very good reason. So for me personally, just cold experience and from burning other things, Crimson and Clover and Mediterranean fig fall flat a little bit compared to some of these other fig candles that I have, but I was really hoping for the best. For me, Crimson and Clover was kind of giving me, let's put it this way, the throw on it is good. I would say the throw is a 7 or a 7.5. So I was burning this in my master bath the other day, and I was laying on the couch up here in my living room, and I would catch a whiff of this. It wasn't a strong whiff, but I could catch a whiff. This thing will throw. It will throw throughout your house, but it's not gonna fill it because this is a fairly thin fragrance. The strength of this candle is much closer to like a 6 or a 5.5, and that might be a little generous. It's kind of in the 5 realm. And what's more, sometimes it doesn't come across as much fig as I would like. So there is like maybe a berry element or a vaguely fig-like element. There were days that it came across more like a date than it did a fig. And I know those two fruits are similar, but a date is more like, especially when it's dried, it's like a piece of candy. It's so caramelized and candied. And given the sugar cane, I think it's the sugar cane along with the mission fig, it just comes across, again, as not something that's completely fresh from the garden, nor something that is jammy, but something that is more like a raisin or a date, which is fine, but I think that it's the fresh fig, the botanical fig, that is the most fragrant and evocative for me personally, rather than anything dried. And across the board, these Kringle candles, they just were not as strongly botanical as I would like them to be. And this is a little indicative of that. Yes, there is a very strong green element. There were days that when I burned it, I just thought, all I'm getting is green vine. And I'm not unhappy about that. I do love green vine. But from day to day, you were just not quite sure what it is that you were gonna get. And the only thing that you were confident about is that it was going to be a little bit less than what it is that you actually wanted. Literally in terms of strength and throw, and figuratively maybe in terms of a consistent scent and fragrance experience. And I really hesitate to be negative about it because I like the candle. I think it's fine. I do think that turquoise is a bit more successful, and I think more people are gonna like turquoise. I did think that it kind of came across as fig tree. So if it was rebranded as fig tree, I think it would work really, really well. Because it's giving us like kind of a whole botanical organism. There's so much green, and then there's also the fruit, and it sometimes dried. And when cherry tree came out, I think most of us assumed that cherry tree would be similar to this experience, but for cherries as opposed to figs. So I think this would be a really good fig tree. It does need to be bumped up in volume at the very least. I think all of us were kind of thinking that fresh or juicy strawberry would be similar as well. In that juicy strawberry, once we were made aware of the fact that there was green elements, I think we were all thinking it would be like green strawberry vines with a very nice juicy strawberry fruit kind of experience. And instead it ended up being kind of a weird herbal experience mixed with an almost candied strawberry. I don't love this candle, although I'm gonna try it out again in like July or something. I don't love this candle, but I'll tell you this about this candle. This candle has a point of view in a way that Crimson and Clover doesn't. It's confident, and while it may not be your scent, it knows what it is, and it's gonna give it to you in a fairly consistent way with a throw and a strength of at least 7.5 every single time. I don't know that I can say that for Crimson and Clover. I think that's kind of all I have to say about it. And I was really hoping to be a little bit more positive about Herbs and Spice and Crimson and Clover. And I just am not sure that I can be. I don't know that I would repurchase either of them in their current iteration. And I do think that Kringle probably needs to worry a little bit about their Reserve line and how it is that they're distinguishing it from many of their other candles. We were all under the impression that there was a greater presence of oils in these candles and that it would be a more sophisticated or premium experience. And I am not finding that to be the case at least 50% of the time, if not more than that. The throw on most all of these, Blue Orchid accepted, are below average, I would say, for a Kringle candle. And that shouldn't be for a Reserve candle, full stop. Then also on top of it, I think there needs to be a better effort to figure out what the concept and the theme is of a Reserve candle. I kind of like the idea of a Reserve candle being a singular experience of something, especially if it's a little bit avant-garde or obscure or something that you wouldn't normally associate with a candle. And I've said this before, the fast food candle, I mean, it's not my vibe. I would never buy it, but I appreciate why it's in a Reserve candle line. It's limited edition, etc. That one, the Manhattan, hazelnut truffle. I wouldn't mind like an herb candle. And I know that they did an herb line before, but I think that a Reserve candle would actually be a really good line for something like sage, oregano, rosemary, etc. I think if they can rebrand or at least hew closer to that theme of these Kringle Reserve candles being kind of a singular, authentic experience, one that might be unexpected, or one that may be more thoroughgoing than a more conceptual candle. Again, it will be an understandable line, even if every experience is not quite what it is that you would like or something that you want to try. But many of these candles here in this iteration, I don't understand why they're not just in the regular line from a conceptual standpoint. Herbs and spice, which I think should be cigars and sage, fine. But why is it in a reserve line as opposed to the regular line? What is it giving us that's like completely out of the box, completely different than the other offerings that they give? And then across the board, in terms of strength and throw and scent, fragrance, quality, it needs to be consistently above average. Not at average, definitely not below average, because the hype is going to start to dissipate. I mean, people are just going to stop buying the Kringle candles. Certainly in the first wave, they're going to wait for dedicated reviewers who are going to be honest. But in time, people are just going to associate the Kringle Reserve line with something that is at best average or below average, or no different than the regular Kringle experience, however, a little bit more expensive. And then on top of it, if the whole like black jar caveman, or man cave is what I meant, Freudian slip, man cave, like aesthetic doesn't appeal to you or work in your aesthetic, that's another strike against it. I really would like to see a little bit more from Kringle and a little bit more consistency. That's all I have to say. Crimson and Clover is not available, but maybe they've pulled it off the website because they're repouring. That's probably optimistic. I'll leave whatever information I've got below, but otherwise we're just gonna have to wait the website, and I'll see you in the next one.